The elevator lurched to a halt with a groan that echoed like a final breath, trapping us between the 17th and 18th floors of the old Whitaker building in downtown Portland. My heart slammed against my ribs as the lights flickered once, twice, then steadied into a harsh fluorescent buzz, illuminating the stranger across from me like she was the only real thing in the dim metal box. She tilted her head, her green eyes catching mine in the stutter of shadows, and smiled, not with panic or politeness, but with a slow, unraveling curve of her lips that whispered secrets I hadn't known I was starving for. I was Nova Reyes, 34 years old, a corporate attorney who'd clawed her way up from a cramped studio in East LA to this rain-slicked city, where the Willamette River churned gray under perpetual clouds, and every deal felt like a tightrope over oblivion. That morning, I'd woken to the sterile beep of my alarm in my Pearl District loft. The sheets tangled from another night of fitful sleep haunted by boardroom battles and the hollow echo of my ex-girlfriend Sophia's goodbye 6 months prior. Sophia, with her sharp suits and sharper words, had called it irreconcilable differences, code for, "You're too buried in work to love me anymore." I'd nodded, signed the lease renewal alone, and thrown myself deeper into case files, convinced that control was the only lever I could trust. The elevator doors had slid shut behind me at the lobby, coffee in hand from the corner cart where the barista, Jamal, always added an extra shot without asking. I was late for a deposition at the firm on the 20th floor, my mind already scripting arguments against a client who thought he could bury evidence like yesterday's compost. Then, the ding, and she stepped in, effortless, like wind slipping through cracked windows. "Luna," she'd say later, but in that first suspended second, she was just a flash of platinum hair and freckles dusting her nose, carrying a canvas tote bulging with sketchbooks and what smelled faintly like lavender and fresh charcoal. Now, as the emergency light hummed to life, painting her face in soft amber, she leaned against the wall opposite me, crossing her arms over that oversized sweater that draped like a forgotten promise. "Well," she said, her voice a low drawl with a hint of southern lilt, "maybe Savannah. Maybe Charleston. The kind that wrapped around vowels like kudzu, this is one way to beat the morning rush." I laughed. A sharp bark that surprised me, clutching my briefcase like a shield. "Yeah. Because nothing says productivity like vertical limbo." My phone was dead in my pocket, no signal. No bars. Just the phantom vibration of notifications I'd never get. Panic clawed at the edges of my composure. But her smile held it at bay. That infuriating, magnetic pull that made the air feel thicker, warmer. She pushed off the wall, her sneakers scuffing softly on the linoleum, and extended a hand smudged with faint graphite. "Luna Hale. Artist in residence at the old warehouse on Burnside. Or unemployed dreamer. Depending on the day." Her grip was firm, calluses rough against my palm, eyes locking on mine with an intensity that stripped the small talk bare. Up close, she was younger than I'd guessed, 28. Maybe, her skin fair and scattered with those freckles like stars flung careless across a summer sky. There was a tattoo peeking from her sweater cuff, a crescent moon inked in delicate black lines, curling toward her wrist like it was chasing the light. "Nova," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "Reyes. I litigate for a living. Make rich people richer. Poor people poorer." The usual Portland grind. We both knew the city, its craft breweries spilling over with tech bros, its food carts hawking fusion tacos under the Hawthorne Bridge, its quiet corners where the ghosts of loggers and hippies still whispered in the evergreens. But in that elevator, Portland felt a million miles away, reduced to the hum of our breathing and the distant wail of a siren threading through the shaft. Minutes stretched like taffy. I paced the 3x3 space, heels clicking, while Luna slid down the wall to sit cross-legged, pulling a sketchpad from her tote. "Mind if I?" she asked, pencil already dancing across the page. I shook my head, curiosity overriding the itch to hammer the emergency button again. Instead, I sank beside her, knees brushing denim, and watched as lines bloomed under her fingers, bold strokes capturing the curve of the handrail, the slant of light on the panel. "You're good," I murmured, the words slipping out unbidden. "Like, really good." She glanced up, that smile flickering again, softer this time, laced with something vulnerable. Flattery from a lawyer? Must be the hypoxia talking. But her eyes lingered. Green as the ivy climbing the brick facades of Alphabet District lofts. And I felt seen, not as the powerhouse in the boardroom, but as the woman who'd forgotten how to unravel. We talked then. Words tumbling like rain on the tin roofs of our shared exile. She told me about growing up in a clapboard house in Asheville, North Carolina, where her mom ran a pottery studio and her dad fixed motorcycles, teaching her to weld dreams into metal before he left for good. Art school in Savannah had spit her out broke but alive, chasing murals in abandoned lots until Portland's creative underbelly called her west. The light here's different, she said, tracing a shadow on her pad. Grayer. But it makes the colors pop when they fight back. I shared fragments, my abuela's tamales in Echo Park, the scholarship that hauled me to Stanford, the nights I'd stare at the Hollywood sign from my dorm window, wondering if ambition was just a prettier cage. Sophia's name hovered unspoken, a bruise I poked at in silence. Luna didn't pry, she just nodded, her pencil pausing as if absorbing the weight. Sounds like you've been running a marathon with weights on your ankles, she said finally. Ever think about stopping? The question landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading through the ache I'd armored over. Before I could deflect, the elevator shuddered, lights flaring bright as the mechanism whirred back to life. We scrambled up, her hand steadying my elbow, a touch that lingered electric on my skin. The doors parted on the 20th floor, spilling us into the marble lobby where my colleagues milled like suited sharks. This is me, I said, throat tight. But she followed, tote slung over her shoulder. Meeting a client here, she lied smoothly. Or maybe not, Portland's art scene bled into everything. We exchanged numbers in the elevator bank's shadow, her thumb brushing mine as she typed. Don't be a stranger. Nova Reyes. Elevators aren't the only place worlds collide. That night? In my loft with its floor-to-ceiling windows framing the glittering Burnside Bridge, I stared at my phone until the screen burned my retinas. Her text came at midnight, a sketch of the elevator. Us as silhouettes in the glow. Captioned, stuck with you. Best plot twist yet. I replied before reason could intervene, coffee tomorrow? The response was instant, make it the cart on 11th. 8 a.m. sharp. The days blurred into a rhythm I hadn't known I craved. Mornings at the cart. Steam rising from our cups as Jamal winked knowingly. Luna sketching passers-by while I vented about depositions gone sideways. Afternoons. She dragged me to the Pearl District markets, where vendors hawked heirloom tomatoes and handmade soaps scented like Pacific fog, her laughter cutting through my cynicism like sunlight through drizzle. Evenings. We'd wander the waterfront park paths, the Willamette lapping at concrete banks, her stories weaving tapestries of wild abandon, nude life drawing in Brooklyn lofts, busking with guitar in New Orleans alleys, that made my structured life feel like a half-finished puzzle. She was chaos in the best way. Luna Hale. With her playlists of indie folk that filled my car on drives to the Oregon coast. Windows down. Salt wind tangling our hair. We'd park at Cannon Beach. Toes in the surf. Her head on my shoulder as waves crashed like unspoken confessions. You're not like anyone I've met, she'd murmur. Fingers tracing patterns in the sand. Like you've got this fire banked under all that ice. I'd pull back then. The ghost of Sophia whispering warnings, too fast. Too fragile. But Luna's touch was patient. Her kisses stolen in the dim of dive bars on Division Street. Tasting of IPAs and possibility. One night, after a gallery opening in the Pearl where her pieces hung raw and radiant, abstract swirls of color evoking the ache of longing, we tumbled into my loft. Clothes shedding like old skins. Her body against mine was revelation, soft curves yielding under my hands. Freckles mapping constellations I traced with lips and tongue. We moved slow at first. Exploratory. Then urgent. Her gasps echoing off exposed brick walls as Portland's skyline twinkled indifferent outside. In the afterglow, tangled in sheets scented with her lavender, she propped on an elbow, eyes searching mine. This isn't just a rebound. Is it? The vulnerability cracked her open. And I saw the scars, an ex who'd stolen her art. Sold it as his own. Left her doubting her worth. No, I whispered, pulling her close. This is the first real breath I've taken in years. But cracks formed subtle. Insidious. My caseload swelled. Late nights bleeding into weekends. While Luna's residency demanded solitude in her Burnside studio. Paint-splattered floors and half-eaten takeout from the Thai place on the corner. We'd text apologies, I'm sorry. Rain check, until the silences grew heavier. Then, the call from my firm's partner, a high-stakes merger with a Seattle conglomerate. Meaning weeks on the road. Go, Luna said over burner phones in hotel lobbies. Her voice steady but threaded with strain. I'll be here. Sketching the rain for you. The betrayal came quiet. A whisper in a voicemail I found after a 12-hour day in a glass tower overlooking Puget Sound. Sophia's number. Unblocked in a moment of weakness. Nova. I miss you. Portland's not the same. Come home. But it was Luna's voice that gutted me later that night. Overheard in a haze of exhaustion, her on the line with a gallery owner in LA. Pitching her work with a laugh that sounded too bright. Too rehearsed. Yeah. The residency's wrapping early. Need to chase bigger lights. I confronted her the next weekend. Back in Portland under a sky bruised purple with storm clouds. We met at our cart on 11th. Jamal's extra shot doing nothing to warm the chill between us. Are you leaving? I asked. Voice raw. The words tasting like ash. Luna's eyes dropped to her cup. Steam curling like ghosts. It's not that simple. The offer's real, solo show in Echo Park. The kind of break artists dream of. She reached for my hand. But I pulled back. The elevator's intimacy a distant memory. Nova. This, us, it's not the reason. But I can't stay stagnant here. Not when the world's pulling. The fight spilled out in the rain-slick streets. Umbrellas bobbing like black blooms around us. You knew what I was, I hurled. Old wounds reopening. The job. The grind, it's who I am. But her words sliced deeper, and I'm the girl who gets left behind. Right? The one who fits into weekends until she doesn't. We parted under the awning of a bookstore on Burnside. Her tote heavy with unspoken sketches. My briefcase a barrier. That night? Alone in the loft. I scrolled her Instagram, posts from Asheville. Vibrant and untethered, wondering if I'd imagined the tether between us. The crisis crested 2 weeks later. A storm that flooded the Willamette. Shutting down the bridges and mirroring the deluge inside me. Luna's flight to LA was booked, my merger teetered on collapse from a leaked memo. In the downpour, I drove to her studio. Wipers slashing frantic. To find the door ajar. Light spilling gold onto wet pavement. She was packing. Canvases stacked like fallen soldiers. Charcoal dust motes dancing in the air. Nova, she breathed. Surprise melting into sorrow. I didn't think you'd come. The words broke free then. A torrent, the fear of losing her. The terror of holding on. The way Sophia's ghost had made me armor-plated against love. Luna crossed the room in 3 strides. Pulling me into her arms. Rain soaking us both. I'm scared too, she confessed against my neck. Voice muffled. Of flying solo again. But running from this? That's scarier. We collapsed onto the worn futon amid paint tubes and half-finished dreams. Bodies entwining as thunder rolled overhead. It wasn't resolution. Not yet, just raw honesty. Her fingers mapping the tension knots in my back. My lips finding the pulse at her throat. In that storm-lit space, we promised tentative bridges, bi-coastal calls. Visits carved from chaos. But dawn brought clarity's edge. The flood receding to reveal muddied truths. The flight to LA was a blur of recycled air and turbulence that mirrored the churn in my gut. Luna's hand clasped in mine over the armrest. Her nails bitten short from nervous habit. We'd boarded at PDX under a sky finally cracking blue. The cascades shrinking below like crumpled green paper. Echo Park, she murmured. Peering out the window as the plane banked south. My old stomping grounds. Feels like coming home to haunt myself. I squeezed her fingers. The merger's weight still pressing like an anvil, late-night revisions in my hotel. Emails pinging from Portland partners demanding blood. But here, at 30,000 feet, it was just us, Nova and Luna. Suspended again. This time by choice. The descent into LAX brought heat-shimmered sprawl. Palm trees stabbing at smog. And the echo of my abuela's voice in the traffic hum, Mija? Love isn't a contract you renegotiate. Her gallery was a converted warehouse in the arts district. Graffiti-tagged walls framing exposed beams and concrete floors polished to gleam. The owner, a wiry woman named Riley with a buzz cut and tattoos snaking up her arms, greeted us with air kisses and a bottle of rose that tasted like summer regret. "Luna Hale. You ghosted us for that rainy hipster haven up north," Riley teased, clinking glasses. "But these pieces? They'll sell out before the vernissage." We toured the space that afternoon. Luna's canvases unfurled like confessions, swirling vortices of indigo and gold evoking elevator shadows. Freckled skins rendered in oils that begged touch. One caught me, a diptych of two women intertwined. One armored in sharp lines. The other fluid as smoke. Their eyes colliding in a gaze that stripped bare. "Us?" I whispered. Throat tight. She nodded, tracing the frame. "Before the storm. Before I almost ran." Riley hovered, oblivious, chattering about pricing. But Luna's hand found my lower back. An anchor in the swirl. That night, we crashed at her old sublet in Echo Park, a bungalow tucked behind bougainvillea vines. The living room a riot of mismatched furniture and incense haze. Neighbors blasted reggaeton from open windows, the bass thumping like a shared heartbeat. We cooked, her fumbling with Abuela's tamale recipe from memory. Masa dough sticking to fingers as I guided her hands. Laughter bubbling when corn husks tore. Over plates on the porch swing. Fireflies winking in the jacaranda trees. She opened up about the ex who'd gutted her, Theo. A sculptor with a silver tongue and wandering hands. Who'd claimed her ideas as his. Left her hollow in a Brooklyn walk-up. "He made me feel like my art was a phase," she said. Wine glass dangling from her knee. Like I was the pretty accessory to his genius. Her voice cracked. Green eyes reflecting porch light like fractured emeralds. I pulled her feet into my lap. Thumbs kneading arches worn from warehouse floors. "You're no accessory," I said fiercely. "You're the whole damn masterpiece." Our lovemaking that night was slow. Reverent, her body arching under mine on the sagging mattress. Moonlight slanting through blinds to paint stripes across her freckles. She whispered my name like a prayer. Fingers tangling in my hair. And for the first time since Sophia, I let go. Waves crashing without the fear of drowning. But Portland pulled insistent. A tether yanking me back midweek for the merger's climax. Luna stayed. Immersing in the show prep, late nights at the gallery. Paint under her nails. Takeout from the pupuseria on Sunset. Our calls grew clipped. Her exhaustion bleeding through, Riley's pushing for edits. Says the diptych's too personal. I'd pace my loft. The Willamette's lights mocking from the window. Reassuring her while my own doubts gnawed. Sophia texted again, innocent check-ins that escalated to, "We were good together." November. "Remember Santorini? Photos of us sun-kissed on Greek cliffs. Salt in our kisses." I deleted them. But the seed took root. A betrayal not of action but erosion. Whispering that Luna's light was borrowed. Fleeting as LA's eternal summer. The merger closed in a blur of handshakes and champagne at a rooftop overlooking the Columbia River Gorge. Fog veiling the peaks like unresolved grief. Victory tasted hollow. I flew south that weekend. Landing to Luna's opening night chaos. The gallery thrummed, art crowd in linen shifts and ironic teas. Murmuring over charcuterie boards and craft mezcal. Luna shone. Emerald dress hugging her curves. Platinum hair pinned loose. Greeting patrons with that disarming smile. I hovered at the edges. Nursing a paloma. Pride swelling as bids climbed on her pieces. Then, Riley sidled up. Breath warm with tequila. "She's a star? Your girl. Scouted her years ago. Back when Theo was still in the picture. Messy breakup, guy tried to sue for co-authorship. But she rose from it. Fiercer. Theo." The name landed like a sucker punch. I scanned the room. Spotting him across the space, tall. Bearded. Nursing a scotch by the diptych. Eyes raking Luna's form with proprietary hunger. She laughed at something he said. Hand on his arm, a reflex. Maybe. But it ignited the fuse. By closing. As guests thinned. I cornered her in the back office. Door clicking shut on the murmur. "What's he doing here?" My voice was low. Venomous. The merger's adrenaline twisting into something uglier. Luna blinked. Confusion creasing her brow. "Theo?" Riley invited him, networking. "Old colleagues." She stepped close. Hands on my arms. Nova. It's nothing. Ancient history. But the photo Sophia sent that morning burned in my pocket, us in Santorini. Captioned, "Miss this." Betrayal's double edge, hers reaching back. Mine projecting forward. "You're glowing with him," I accused. Pulling free. Like I was just the Portland pit stop. Her face crumpled. Green eyes flashing hurt. "That's not fair. I'm here. Fighting for this, for us." Tears welled. But I was already turning. The door slamming like a guillotine. Outside. LA's night air clung humid. Taillights streaking red as I hailed a cab to LAX. Fleeing before the hurt could calcify. Portland welcomed me with drizzle. The loft echoing emptier than before. Luna's texts piled, calls missed. Voicemails pleading, "Talk to me. Please." I buried in work. Depositions blurring into nights at dive bars on Alberta Street. Nursing whiskeys with colleagues who mistook my silence for brooding charisma. Sophia appeared one evening. Uninvited. At a firm happy hour in the Pearl, her dark curls framing a face I'd once mapped by heart. Dress-hugging curves that stirred only nostalgia now. "We could try again," she said over craft cocktails. Hand on my knee under the table. Vulnerability cracked her polish. Echoes of our fights in the city lights. I wavered. The void Luna left a chasm. And nodded. Dinner tomorrow. It was betrayal's quiet bloom. A dinner at her waterfront condo turning to familiarity's trap, her touch reigniting old paths. Whispers of second chances over seared scallops and Willamette views. But mid-kiss on her balcony. Luna's face intruded, freckles and elevator glow. Laughter and surf spray. I pulled back. Excuses tumbling. "Not yet. I need time." Sophia's eyes narrowed. Hurt sharpening to ice. "It's her? Isn't it? The artist girl. God. Nova. You always pick the ones who'll break you." The words festered. Seeding doubt as Luna's show reviews hit my feed, raves for the diptych. Anonymous comments speculating, Hale's muse, Portland power player or fleeting flame. Crisis peaked in a rain-lashed week. Merger fallout demanding overtime. Sophia's texts a siren call. Luna's silence a void. I drove to Burnside in the deluge. Studio dark. A note taped to the door, "Gone back to LA. Call if you want the whole story." Heart splintering. I flew south again. Landing in heat that pressed like judgment. The bungalow was shuttered. Neighbor confirming, "Luna? Packed up last night. Said something about Savannah roots calling." Panic clawed, visions of her alone in clapboard houses. Sketching ghosts. I rented a car. Barreling east on I-10. The desert blurring into Carolina hills. Chasing redemption through mile markers. Asheville unfolded in autumn blaze, leaves aflame in golds and crimsons. The Blue Ridge Mountains cradling the city like ancient arms. Her mom's pottery studio sat on a winding road off Biltmore Avenue. Clay-scented air wafting from open doors. Inside. A woman with Luna's green eyes and silver-streaked hair shaped a vase on the wheel. Water sluicing like tears. "Mrs. Hale?" I ventured. Voice cracking. "I'm Nova. Looking for Luna." She wiped hands on an apron. Studying me with maternal acuity. "She mentioned you. The lawyer who trapped her heart in an elevator." A pause. Then, up the hill. The old cabin. "But Nova, love's not a case to win. It's clay, shape it gentle. Or it cracks." The cabin perched on a ridge. Smoke curling from the chimney. Windows glowing against twilight. Luna answered my knock in sweats and tangled hair. Surprise widening her eyes. "Nova? What?" I collapsed into her. Sobs racking as rain pattered the tin roof. I screwed up. "Sophia. The doubts, I pushed you away because I was scared you'd leave first." Words poured. Raw and unfiltered, the merger's void. Sophia's pull as crutch. The terror of loving without armor. She held me. Then pulled back. Cupping my face. "I almost did leave. Theo's invite reopened scars. Made me question if I could be enough for your world." Vulnerability mirrored mine. Her voice trembling. "But running to Savannah? That's my pattern. Facing it, with you, that's new." We talked through the night. Fire crackling in the stone hearth. Herbal tea steaming on scarred oak tables. Stories unspooled, her fears of stagnation, my dread of abandonment, the ways we'd both built walls from past bricks. Dawn painted the mountains pink. And in that light? We chose healing, tentative plans for a life bridged between coasts. Her art in Portland galleries. My cases balanced with weekends in clay-scented hills. It wasn't fairy tale, conflicts lingered. Like Sophia's final voicemail, take care. November. You deserve the chaos, deleted without reply. But as we walked the leaf-strewn paths, hands linked, Luna's smile returned, that elevator curve, now etched with promise. Worlds collide more than once, she said, kissing my knuckles. Ours just needed a detour to stick. Winter settled over Portland like a heavy quilt. Snow dusting the evergreens along the sandy river and turning the city into a hushed watercolor. Luna and I rebuilt in layers, her sublet in the Hawthorne district. A quirky two-bedroom with creaky floors and a bay window framing Japanese maples. My loft subletting to a visiting prof from Reed College. Mornings blurred into shared rituals, her grinding beans from the roastery on Milwaukee. Me scrolling briefs while she sketched at the kitchen table. Pencil scratches syncing with the espresso's hiss. The healing was jagged, though, edges catching on old wounds. My firm eyed the merger's success with promotions dangling like bait. Pulling me into dinners at the Nines where partners dissected deals over dry-aged steaks. Their laughter tinny against my phone's silent vigil for Luna's texts. She'd started a new series, Portraits of Fractured Light. Inspired by Carolina sunrises, selling piecemeal at pop-ups in the Alberta Arts District. But rejection stung, a curator in Seattle calling her style too emotive for the market. One February evening, after a gallery walk on Northeast 28th where her piece hung amid kinetic sculptures and neon abstracts, we ducked into a taqueria for horchata and carnitas tacos. Steam fogging the windows. They loved it, I said. Wiping salsa from her chin. Pride swelling. But her smile faltered. Eyes distant as the mariachi trio strummed in the corner. Riley emailed. Wants me back in LA for a group show, Theo's curating. The name dropped like ice in my veins. Fork pausing midair. She rushed on, it's professional. No strings. But. It digs up dirt. I nodded. Throat tight. Forcing casual. Go if it feeds the work. I'll hold the fort. But doubt not that night in bed. Her body curled away. Breaths even but laced with tension. Sophia's shadow lingered too, mutual friends posting her at wine bars in the Pearl. Captions hinting at fresh starts. I scrolled in the dark. Jealousy a low burn. Wondering if betrayal's root ever fully died. Spring thawed the Willamette's banks into bloom, cherry blossoms shedding pink confetti along the esplanade. Food carts firing up with Dungeness crab rolls and banh mi that dripped chili oil. Luna thrived in fits, a mural commission for a coffee shop on Division. Vibrant murals of women entwined in urban vines drawing crowds and her name in local rags. We celebrated with a picnic at Washington Park. Rose gardens perfuming the air. Her head in my lap as I read aloud from a dog-eared copy of Audre Lorde. Words on love as revolution sinking deep. You're my quiet rebellion, she murmured. Fingers weaving through mine. Intimacy deepened, nights exploring bodies with candlelight flickering off brick walls. Her laughter gasping as I mapped freckles with tongue. Slow dances in the living room to Phoebe Bridgers' tracks. Vinyl crackling like whispers. Yet crisis brewed subtle, my promotion came with a catch, relocation offer to the Seattle office. Bigger fish. Nova. Think VP track. I buried the email. But Luna sensed the shift. Our lovemaking turning urgent. Laced with unspoken fears. The blow landed in May. Under a sky heavy with Pacific squalls. Luna returned from LA flushed. Portfolio clutched like armor. But her eyes hollowed. Over pho at a spot on 82nd. Broth steaming aromatic. She spilled. Theo cornered me at the after-party. Said the show's mine if I collaborate. Like old times. Her voice fractured. Chopsticks trembling. I told him no. Walked out. But the whispers, patrons assuming we're back on. Riley dodging my calls. Rage boiled. Hot and irrational, not at her. But the world that painted her as prey. That bastard, I growled. Slamming my bowl. I'll fly down. Confront him, but she stopped me. Hand on mine. Green eyes pleading. It's not just him. It's me doubting if I can stand alone in this. Tears traced her cheeks, mixing with sriracha sting. The argument erupted later at home. Rain lashing windows like accusations. You're clipping your wings for me, she hurled. Pacing the living room. Staying in Portland when Seattle's your ladder up. And you're running toward ghosts, I shot back. Voice breaking. Theo. LA, anything to avoid the mess of us. The words hung toxic. Betrayal's echo, my hesitation on the promotion mirroring her flight to Savannah. She stormed out into the downpour. Door slamming. Leaving me with the hum of the fridge and regret's aftertaste. Days blurred into radio silence, her at the studio till dawn. Me crashing at the firm's crash pad downtown. Depositions a numb haze. Sophia reached out. A lifeline in the storm, heard you're spiraling. Coffee? No strings. We met at a cafe in the West End. Her presence a balm of familiarity. Stories of her new consulting gig in Vancouver flowing easy. You look tired. NOV, she said. Stirring latte foam. Luna's fire burning you out? The temptation crested, her hand covering mine. A brush of lips in the parking garage that tasted of what was safe. But pulling away. I saw Luna's smile in the rearview. Elevator bright. And drove to Hawthorne instead. The studio light burned late. Shadows dancing as I knocked. Soaked and shaking. She opened. Paint-streaked and wary. But pulled me in without a word. We collapsed against the wall. Kisses desperate. Tasting salt and turpentine. I'm sorry, I gasped. Hands framing her face. The promotion, I turned it down. For us. But I get it now, love's not possession. It's choosing the climb together. Luna's sob muffled in my neck. Body sagging. I almost called Theo back. Thought it'd prove I didn't need this. She gestured wildly. Encompassing the chaos. But you're my anchor. Nova. The one who sees the fractures and stays. Healing unfurled tentative, therapy sessions at a queer center in Southeast. Circles of folding chairs where we unpacked armors, mine forged in Abuela's expectations. Hers and Dad's abandonment. We road-tripped the Oregon coast. Highway 101 winding cliffs to tide pools. Camping under Big Sur stars. Her sketches capturing sea foam swirls while I built fires. Embers mirroring our mending. Back in Portland. Conflict simmered, a client poaching my strategy. Luna's mural vandalized with slurs that cut deep, but we faced them linked. Her hand in mine at police stations. My voice steadying her through revisions. Summer peaked in a heat wave. The city shimmering. Rose Festival parades clogging the streets with floats and funnel cakes. We escaped to the gorge. Hiking Eagle Creek Trail. Mist from Multnomah Falls cooling sweat-slick skin. At Punch Bowl. Turquoise pool fed by cascades. We stripped to swimsuits. Diving in tandem. Water shocking cold. Surfacing. Gasping. She treaded close. Legs tangling. Marry me. The words slipped casual. But her eyes held galaxies. I laughed. Splashing. Heart pounding. In a gorge? With ringless fingers. But later. Drawing on sun-warmed rocks. I knelt in the pebbles. A twist tie from her sketchpad as proxy. Yes. But only if we write our own vows, no legalese. Her kiss was sunlight. Fierce and forgiving. Yet climax loomed. Betrayal's final twist, in August. Sophia's email hit my inbox, CC to the firm. Anonymous but unmistakable, details of our affair during the merger. Twisted to imply ethics breaches. Panic surged, partners called emergency huddles. Whispers of audits rippling. Luna found me in the loft. Head in hands. Screen glowing accusatory. It's her, I choked. Payback for choosing you. The crisis peaked that night, me pacing. Plotting countersuits. Luna silent. Then erupting, fight smart. Not vengeful. Or it'll consume us. We strategized till dawn, evidence trails. Character witnesses. Her steady presence the ballast. But doubt cracked me open. Whispering I'd drag her down. Leave now, I urged. Voice raw. Before the mud sticks. Luna's eyes blazed. Grabbing my collar. I'm not your exit strategy. We're in the dirt together, that's the vow. Her love was the anchor. Pulling me from the abyss. Autumn winds stripped the maples bare along the Burnside streets. Leaves skittering like unanswered questions as the Sophia scandal unfolded in slow-motion fallout. Investigations dragged, internal reviews at the firm. Coffee-fueled depositions in sterile conference rooms overlooking the steel bridge. Where the Willamette churned indifferent below. Luna stood sentinel. Her hand slipping into mine during waits at the lobby. Green eyes a beacon in fluorescent glare. "Breathe," she'd whisper. Thumb stroking my knuckles. "Truth's your best witness." The betrayal's layers peeled back, Sophia's emails traced to a jilted client grudge. Her confession spilling in a tearful meet at a neutral cafe in the Lloyd district, espresso untouched. Her curls limp. "I was angry. Nova. Thought it'd force you back." Remorse etched her face. But the damage lingered. A scar on my career, probation. Not firing. But whispers in hallways that chipped at promotions. Luna absorbed it without flinching. Her own crises mirroring, the vandalized mural sparking media buzz. Queer outlets in Portland rallying with fundraisers at the Q Center. Donations pouring for repairs. We attended together. String lights twinkling over picnic tables laden with potluck piragas and vegan empanadas. Her speech halting but fierce, "Art's not fragile. It's the crack where light gets in." Applause thundered. Her hand trembling in mine. And I saw the woman who'd risen from Brooklyn betrayals. Now unbreakable. Healing wove through the wreckage. Thread by careful thread. We joined a writing group at Powell's City of Books. Basement sessions where prompts unearthed buried aches, me penning elevator vignettes. Her poems blooming like kudzu over heartbreak. Winters returned softer. Snow blanketing the Hawthorne bungalow in hush. Our engagement ring a simple silver band with a crescent inlay. Exchanged in a courthouse ceremony on a gray December morning. Witnesses, Jamal from the coffee cart. Bearing lattes, Luna's mom by a video from Asheville. Tears smudging her screen. The reception was intimate, backyard strung with bulbs. Tamales steaming beside cornbread. Indie playlist shuffling from speakers. Toasts flowed, Riley. Flown in from LA. Raising a glass to the muse who stayed, my associate. Kai. A non-binary firebrand from the firm. Quipping about love as the ultimate class action suit. Luna and I danced slow to First Day of My Life, her head on my shoulder. Body swaying in rhythm with the city's pulse, distant Max trains rumbling. Laughter from neighbors' porches. But the journey's arc crested in spring's thaw. A crisis born of growth's pains. Luna's solo show invitation arrived from the Portland Art Museum, prime gallery space. But demanding a thematic pivot, intersections of identity, curators urging queer narratives that risked exposing our raw edges. "It's us, Nova," she confided over breakfast. Sunlight slanting through the bay window. The elevator. The fights. The mending. But putting it on walls? Feels like flaying skin. Doubt resurfaced. Old phantoms, my probation review looming. Whispers of distraction from partners, her fears of commodifying pain. Arguments flared, me pushing, "This is your breakthrough," her retorting, "Not if it breaks us open for critique." The peak shattered one rain-lashed night. Canvases half-sketched in the studio. Her hurling a brush, "You litigate emotions for a living, easy for you to say expose." I recoiled. Stung. "And you paint them away? Like they're pretty scars. But this? It's our truth. Luna. Hiding it betrays what we've built." The word hung. Evoking Sophia's venom. Theo's theft. And we both crumbled, her sliding down the wall. Me kneeling. Apologies tangling with sobs. "I'm terrified," she admitted. Face buried in my chest. "Of not being enough, for the show. For you." We held vigil till dawn. Rain easing to mist. Forging compromise, pieces veiled in abstraction. Emotions layered like glazes. Inviting viewers without surrender. The opening night hummed electric, museum halls aglow. Patrons in velvet and tweed murmuring over wine flights. Flashbulbs popping. Luna's series dominated, suspended bonds, elevators rendered in metallic sheens. Figures entwined in light shafts. Eyes locking across voids. Critics raved, Hale captures queer resilience with cinematic intimacy, bids climbing. But her gaze sought mine across the crowd. Anchoring. Post-show. As accolades piled, features in Willamette Week. Invites to residencies in Marfa, we retreated to the coast. A cabin on the Nehalem Bay where dunes met tidal flats. Days blurred, clamming at low tide. Her laughter echoing as we unearthed geoducks, evenings on the deck. Fire pit crackling. Stars wheeling overhead. Lovemaking by lantern light. Bodies familiar yet rediscovered, her gasps in the salt air. My name a mantra on her lips. One twilight. As egrets waded silver shallows. She turned to me. Ring glinting. We made it through the stops, the betrayals. The stalls. Her voice was steady. Green eyes reflecting the bay's gleam. But what's next? Kids? Coasts? Or just this, us? Unscripted? I pulled her close. Waves lapping rhythmic. All of it. The mess? The mending. Because love isn't the absence of crisis, it's the choice to rebuild every time. We sat then. Entwined. The world vast and uncharted, Portland's rains waiting. Asheville's hills calling for visits. Futures branching like the river we'd bridged. Years folded forward in humanistic grace, not without tempests, my partnership earned through grit. Luna's studio expanding to apprentices from the Queer Youth Center, a daughter adopted at 3. Isabella. With Luna's freckles and my stubborn chin. Her giggles filling the bungalow as we navigated tantrums and triumphs. Conflicts arose, teen rebellions echoing our own. Career pulse testing vows, but healing's arc held. A testament to vulnerability's power. In quiet moments, like Isabella's bedtime stories under the bay window, Luna's sketches framing our walls, I'd catch her smile, that elevator curve, now deepened by lines of laughter and loss. Still ignoring it? I'd tease, kissing her temple. Never could, she'd reply, pulling me down. It's the smile that started everything. And in Portland's endless drizzle, under skies that cleared to revelation, we lived the truth, love as the ultimate humanism, not perfection. But persistence, not conquest. But communion. In the spaces between floors, between fears, we'd found home, not in places, but in each other.